All right, good morning and welcome to our channel. Today, I want to bring a bit of news to you guys regarding HUD and the potential of averting a government shutdown. Now, this is kind of a start warning because we look at what federal funding does provide for housing and many other things, not just housing, but other federal agencies. And we're seeing more often, obviously, more often we're getting government shutdowns and disagreements, which prevent sometimes funding for different programs. And so, while this circumstance may be averted as of current, it's certainly creating a push on Congress to reconsider funding in terms of housing through HUD and Section 8 vouchers. And that'll be the primary premise of this video. If you're not interested in that topic, this will not be the appropriate video for you. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of notes here so we can kind of go over what's happened and what the potential is going to be, as well as look at how this might have a future impact, especially coming into October and also again in November. So, as of August 4th, 2026, Congress has taken major bipartisan step towards getting and preventing a federal government shutdown, but the legislation is not fully law yet. So, what they're doing is the appropriations released a bipartisan continuing resolution for this, and that would be under the CR that would temporarily fund HUD and most federal agencies for approximately their current 2026 funding levels. One thing I want to bring up is the concept that we may be reusing funds that were tied up previously in earlier year. And again, this is directly related to the subject matter of HUD and Section 8 vouchers and housing funding and programs. So while this is a reprieve to that, we may be again arguing this issue in November. Uh, Maybe some of the better news of this is that there's a high potential that this will cover us for the next year, but we'll have to see what November carries. So the proposal would keep the government operating through October 1st through December 11th of 2026, unless Congress approves a full year of 2027. But that's yet to be seen. Appropriations bill sooner. The current fiscal year ends September 30, and I'm going to put up the Senate Appropriations Committee CR summary for you guys as a link to keep in mind. I want to hear you guys' opinion. It doesn't matter if it's religious, political, or otherwise, but remember to argue the point between the subject matter, not each other. Okay, I don't want anybody disparaging anybody over the subject matter. So moving from there, August 3rd, the Senate voted 89 to 4 to advance consideration of the full bill. That was a procedural vote, not a final passage or vote. The Senate's continuing to consider on August 4th, the official Senate floor update. And I'm going to include that link as well. The reason you're going to want to know this, especially if you're in federal housing, is because it's going to determine the outcome of funding for next year and how much of it we have, and also how long it may take for them to do a final vote on whether or not there are time limits, work requirements. And I think everybody's curious to that. So, what the temporary bill means for HUD, continued FY 2026 HUD funding levels temporarily, protected existence of the Housing Choice Voucher renewals only. In other words, this funding does not consider any new funding for vouchers in 2027, only maintenance of what's currently in place. It also allows HUD to redirect certain unused and carried over voucher funds to help fully fund existing rental assistance renewals, as I had mentioned, and extend expiring homeless assistance grants and funds through September of 2027. The extent and availability of this expiring housing funds is yet to be unknown. And then, of course, they also are continuing the Choice Neighborhoods Grant disbursement for most housing authorities, along with block implementation of controversial new federal funding oversight rule through December 11th. I'm not going to get too deep down that rabbit hole because there's a lot of language in that. So the most important provision for Section 8 participants is going to be Section 153. Okay, so that'll be subsection 153 of Title 24 Code of Federal Regulation, which allows HUD to repurpose and carry Housing Choice Voucher funds to help fully fund the existing rental assistance and renewals. And you can view that at the official section by section explanation linkage I'm going to put up, which will better kind of explain that so we don't carry in a long video. So what is this going to mean in terms of Section 8 and being permanently funded now? The bill will temporarily fund the measure but it will not be included for the final 2027 HUD budget. Okay. It will prevent an immediate October shutdown and give Congress approximately 10 additional weeks to negotiate a full years of funding. So we're still in a battle to argue 2027 and a lot of federal funding. This also means that existing vouchers are not being terminated by this proposal. It also means that Section 8 does not automatically end September 30th. The housing authority should continue regular operations and have payments if the CR law becomes law. Let's keep in mind, housing authorities don't always take federal instruction. You know, we saw it through the last shutdown last year. And what ended up happening is housing authorities started to cease operation and preservation of keeping their own light bulbs on in the building. There was simply not enough funding. So we went through a terrible year ending with that last year. So the proposed 2027 HUD cuts are still important, obviously. The House Appropriations Committee has a separate approved proposed 2027 budget and transportation HUD bill providing roughly 71.38 billion and about 5.94 billion below the 2026 exacted level. House committee does propose including 38 billion per tenant-based Section 8 vouchers, 7 billion per public housing, around 19 billion per project-based assistance or project housing, 5 billion per homeless assistance grants, about 500 million or half a billion for home affordable housing programs, another billion for 202 senior housing, which is NEDS, and another 300 million for subsection 811, which is disability housing for those that may have a disability, but yet they're not a senior. So that being said, guys, I think that kind of accurately represents the argument in terms of federal housing and what's happening presently. I think we need to keep a close eye on this because, if there's further issues, then we could end up stalling funding for the new year. And then that's going to create a bigger impact for many people that are trying to currently use housing. And then, of course, anybody that's trying to enter the system as of new. So I'm going to jump in comments. We're going to make this a very short, casual video. This is why I'm not in dress attire. I don't want to turn it into a 1 hour event. Chloe Labine, EHB, unfortunately, no. Infinite Possibilities. Good morning, Jay and Kiki's in chat. Well, thank you very much. Susan Wells. How can I report a Section 8 housing being used to hide gangs? That's not something I can complete here in this video. I would say leave a comment after the video is done, and I'll attempt to address that for you. Susan Wells, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Gwendolyn, thank you, Jay. You're most welcome. God's love. It looks like your comment was retracted. Try rephrasing if you'd like to comment again. And let's see, Sethbug, welcome back. Delayed till the midterms, then. Absolutely. We have this ending year with this all the time, it seems like. My bigger concern is it's going to push the 2027 budget all into next year. And we saw what happened last year. Housing authorities will cease their activities. And if they run out of funding because they've only got about 30 days funding laid over, then it could create problems where the people cannot use their vouchers. They've already used them. They're renting, but can't pay the rent, and so it may potentially be a big issue if we're still dealing with this past Thanksgiving this year, which is obviously around the corner. Gotta hope so because it's really hot where I live. Gwendolyn, go on. Never a free moment. Seriously, nope, no, of course not. And we're going to continue the CNN and Fox News report here all the way to the end of the administration because things are always rapidly changing, right? And so all we can do is just track along and hope we keep ourselves apprised of what they're going to do, what the Congress and the House do, and determine fates of those that use federal housing in Section 8. Moving on from there, let's see. Queenie, I'm a senior citizen. I'm trying to find affordable housing under the program. So that would be Section 202 or the Housing Choice Voucher. And you go on to say that I live in a rundown, failed condo community in the winter, and I don't have heat. I'm 72. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That certainly does affect quality of life, and certainly, depending on your circumstances, could be a violation of both state and federal contract under HAP if you participate in the program. If not, it may be a different story. But either way, you shouldn't be without heat. Set to find a single mom on Section 8 and bring Cheerios. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. So that must be some old school terminology I'm not familiar with, or you're making a joke. So let me know. Lisa Bowen, good morning and welcome back. Hey, Jay, thank you for what you do. Well, thank you. I'm gonna bring this up real quick. We've had a really big influx of people in our channel, and obviously YouTube is showing our channel to a much wider audience than it ever has because of the changes they made in January. We're going to face some trolls in the channel. I get that. Not everybody likes the subject matter. That's okay. But what you don't have to do is come in the channel and argue with people. Okay, it doesn't make any sense to do that. Just move on to a different video that you enjoy. That's all we need to do. We don't need to become incivil. And so I've had to put about 16 people out, but 16 people of 50,000 is not a big number. It means there's not that many trolls left with on mommy's flip phone in the basement that are trying to talk some shit in my channel, thankfully. So uh, we'll be doing okay, I think. Lisa Bowen, thank you, Jay, for what you do. And let's see, Rising says code enforcement deem the property as a nuisance. The PHA is offering a hotel and any other options available. There could be, but I would need to know much more about your circumstance and case before I could actually give advice. I don't even know where you live, so it would be hard for me to make recommendations, even at the state level, without knowing a lot more. Okay, if you want to reach out to our office, obviously we have a phone number up and so on, and you can reach out. We are over appointments, obviously. I don't receive federal grants, so our appointments cost money, but they're very inexpensive compared to nearly any other consultant in the nation. Okay. Moving on from there. Jacqueline, hello, Jay, and thank you. Well, you're most welcome. Chloe Labine, what about EHB and VAWA? VAWA remains unaffected, of course, and still remains a high preference. EHB is coming to its absolute end by the end of the year. There's very little that left, and it's still a hot topic for me because, you know, pandemic level funds for that is over with. It has been over for a long time. What remains on the market is because it was in small or obscure communities, and so there's simply not much of that left. And I don't think they're going to relight that program or use additional federal funds to continue with EHB. It means that everybody's going to have to migrate from the EHB or emergency housing voucher and transition yourself to either uh, you can go to rapid rehousing, you can go to permanent supportive housing, or you can try to do a transfer to the mainstream voucher, which is your housing choice voucher. But it would be highly impractical at this point to believe the U.S. government is going to retrace their steps with emergency housing vouchers and hotel vouchers. Okay. That was exclusive to a very serious event in our country's history. And I don't believe that that is a present problem. So therefore, I don't believe that they're going to continue on that path. All right. Moving from there, close the mine. Looks like I answered that. So, guys, I'm gonna check the time and see where we're at with this video. We're at about 12 minutes. So, if there's no further questions, I'm gonna wrap it up today. It was just gonna be a casual, short one to apprise you of what Congress and government's doing in terms of shutdowns, because we all saw how painful the last one was. It closed down the housing market for Section 8 and many other things last November, and so it looks like this will go through a little bit easier. There's less argument, and maybe they'll finally approve a passage through Congress before the end years. So we're able to operate through 2027 without so many stops and starts. And it'll also allow housing authorities to reopen and function normally for the ones that are left. Okay. I've enjoyed talking with you guys. I posted a new schedule on our community page. So we'll be doing live videos Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays are always the big one, right? And usually we used to do them at 10 a.m. Central. I'm going to move that to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then on the off days, which would be Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, we're going to do double EDU. EDU means educational videos. They're pre-recorded, and I'm going to cover the many contentious subjects matters, including obscure subject matters that may not even generate that many views, but these are questions people have, and I feel that they deserve an answer to that. So I'm going to backfill probably close to 2,000 videos over the next 2 years to cover all these contentious subject matters. I mean, with more than close to 27 years in the field, working at the federal level, dealing with well over 20,000 clients at this point, we need to have a better representation for AI to pull from as well as Google. And so I'm going to go on a very difficult journey here to answer many of these questions that remain unpopular for most creators, because I'm not here to entertain. The channel's not about entertainment, okay? I'm using my background in history in Section 8 to consult as well as make videos to help people. And to do that, sometimes we have to make videos that may not be popular. It may not make you a lot of ad revenue, but these questions still remain unanswered. And so I'm going to ask and answer those through the course of the next 2 years if everything goes well with my health. Okay. I've enjoyed talking to you guys, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. Double EDUs, one at around 11 a.m., one at 4 p.m. Central Standard. And I think you'll find the topics interesting. And as always, we put notes in the comments section as well as the description. I realize people have learning disabilities and others may not be able to follow along. Sometimes I tend to go quickly through videos, but nobody wants a long video. Therefore, I'm trying to serve that purpose professionally. I've enjoyed seeing you guys today, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye for now.